So my name is Ilari Kuittinen, and I'm CEO of Housemarque. And yes, I'm going to tell a story of how the game called Nex Machina, quite recent game, got started and how the whole collaboration with the industry legend happened. So at first, shortly I'll tell a little bit about my company, about myself, and then story of Nex Machina. It was our first self-published game on PC and PlayStation 4. And it's basically a story how we got this thing started, how we got to know Eugene Jarvis, and how the process of development went, and how the PR and critical reception eventually this summer when we got it out, how that panned out. So let's get started. So as I said, I'm CEO of Housemarque. We're the oldest game studio in Finland. We started in '95. I did have a predecessing company doing Amiga game, one Amiga game, founded in '93. So next year it's going to be 25 years in this industry for me. So we typically create our own IPs. We've been developing those based on our own ideas, and we are based in Helsinki, Finland, downtown. The purpose of our company, in not any particular order, is that always we want to be a great place to work where people can evolve and develop themselves professionally and hopefully as a person as well. Then obviously we want to make great games, and that means that we want to bring pleasure and joy and maybe a little bit of frustration as well to the gamers when they can't go through that difficult bus. But anyways, bring this kind of wow moments to our gamers and make them feel good about this, what we've been doing. So here are the kind of the games we have worked on in the past 10 years, and now this summer we actually launched two new games. Nex Machina was one of them in end of June, and now just actually a couple weeks back we launched a game called Matterfall, which is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Has anyone played any of these games? Okay, just a few. I think you're more on the PC side here in Ukraine, I suppose. But here are the games. Kind of the first. These are kind of represent our digitally downloadable console games mostly. Basically, we started with the Superstars HD pretty much 10 years ago. We were one of the early developers of PlayStation 3 downloadable games, and that we got started with that. And there's all kinds of wide variety of different kind of games, obviously different variation of Superstars games, Dead Nation, Alien Nation, top-down shooters. Resogun was our PlayStation 4 launch title, which got a really great reception, and actually one of the reasons why I'm talking here is what happened related to that game. Outland, artistic platformer, golf teed up casual golf game for Xbox Live Arcade, Xbox 360. Firmis is an exception. It was an iOS game, a physics-based puzzler for iOS and Apple machines. So let's get started. So how a new IP was born and how we got started. So this guy here is Mr. Eugene Jarvis. He's one of the legendary video game developers, coin-op developers. One of the most famous coin-ops in the world is Defender, early 80s, I think 81. Allegedly, that game has worth over $1 billion have been gone through by quarter into this game, according to some sources. So it was a super success. Robotron, Smash TV, Cruising USA. The guy's still doing coin-op games. You might see some of the recent games like Jurassic Park game they made just a couple of years back. But they're still doing games in Skokie, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. But while I'm here talking about this thing that I was attending with my co-founder and chairman of the board, I was attending DICE Awards, which are kind of a game awards in the States. And Eugene was having his Lifetime Achievement Award. And this was in February 2014, and we were nominated as the best action game of the year with Resogun. So obviously Resogun has a kind of a inspiration coming from Defender, and And this guy also has been one of the innovators of the games, like having one of the first popular twin stick shooters, like a Robotron, which is a game which you control with 2 sticks. So obviously we have made a big career out of making these twin stick shooters. So we met this guy before the awards, and then 3 a.m. At the hotel lobby bar in Hard Rock Hotel, and had a few drinks, and found that we have lots of in common, and we started talking. So, and eventually, we figured out that, hey, let's do something together. We would like to do a new top-down shooter. Would be inspired by your games and how we could collaborate. And we had at that point additional content for our PlayStation 4 game Resogun in the development, and we could start the development of this new game in early 2015. So then we basically started our Jarvis project. So at first, our kind of idea was that let's have a spiritual success for Robotron 2084 / Smash TV, and we got Eugene on the board. And obviously, it's just games are not just coding, and it takes a lot of iteration to find the style. So we started to create the look, and we had different artists there. Kind of the idea that you are in a world that's dominated by the machines. Obviously, this looks quite different than the game. Very high level ideas that we got those first things. And this is kind of epitomized a little bit of the idea that you have kind of a bit of a loner there with the cart, and robots are kind of dominating this ruling the world. Well, but that actually didn't fit the style we were looking for, so we got contact with the new artist. This started to be somewhere that there's a hero coming from maybe from a different era as well. So we start to have this idea how this world is going to be built. And we got a new artist called Mac, and we started to have the inspirations from different sources. We started to form you can see the date, but this started to be first iteration of the hero. And our community manager at that time, introduced this guy. He found it out that this guy could be really good, and then we started to work on the art. And he's a kind of a vision guy when it comes to the art. In our game, all the humans are not in a very good shape, so these are kind of inspirational shots for that. What the humans you rescue in the game would look like, and you start to build some sort of coherent vision. The world, all the things that how the color script goes, and what's the setting, what's the idea between the things. You need to, even though it's kind of a deceptively kind of a simple looking game in a way simple twin stick shooter, but there's quite a lot of depth and thinking that we have done to make it happen. So this was obviously big work, and we collaborated with this external artist quite a bit and found the style. Logo is always a pretty interesting thing. There was so many different variations, as, like looking at this, and that this isn't kind of a clicking. What should we do? There was this a red triangle was something that eventually started to resonate. It's kind of a heart of a machine, if you like. Then there was some designs of the T-shirts, and then this stuck out in many different ways. And we started to have that. So there's a kind of a robot heart, guts, that kind of this cable punk kind of a thing. And there was an interesting thing that we started to develop the logo based on this. And eventually, we cut something out from the left one, and that was actually the logo eventually. So you have some cables, sort of a bit of a broken triangle and cables coming out, so kind of symbolizing the machine there. But that was kind of the final thing. And then obviously we start to tease the marketing with the marketing, and we already, had first teaser material a year ago during Gamescom, and this was kind of eventually the thing that we started with. We have a hero. Somewhere there is a secret text Nex, kind of a hinting of the name. So that was kind of already there. I think some people figured that out at that point. So, but anyways, we started to have this thing, and this was kind of the initial shot of the game, what we wanted to put out there first. And our co-founder Harry still don't like this image. And then it's a, as you know, if you develop games and try to figure this out, it can be a really long process to make it right, and I feel that we nail it. So eventually we got this logo that is kind of quite simple, but it's distinctive at the same time. There's another thing. So I just take a little bit sip of water. As we were collaborating with Legend, we got an idea that let's make a making of video of it, and we started to shoot stuff right from the beginning, basically autumn, late summer of 2014. We had a lot of material, and we started to think that this would be a really good making of material, that what's going to happen when Housemarque is working with the industry legend Eugene Jarvis. And eventually actually started, there's a company called New Dawn. It was interesting, our head of publishing, Mikael Haveri, actually bumped into this guy in a tram in Helsinki, and the guy was his old buddy, and he found out that he's part of this New Dawn company who are making these videos, sort of documentaries and business videos and things like that. So we contacted with those guys, had an initial budget that, hey, let's have a great making of a video, and then distribute that when the game is ready, and have some material from that process. Because as far as I know, there's no movie like that available, or following the whole process, how this game will grow and how it got started. So eventually, actually, those guys, it kind of grew into a full documentary movie. They got their own funding for the game, for the movie, and they have a substantial budget to make it. And we are, I heard, because it's out of our hands, we heard that it's going to be out in the next couple months. But that is quite interesting, and hopefully you'll have a chance to see it at some point, because I think that's lots of fun to watch, and pretty interesting thing to look at. Then obviously we have found that one of the difficult parts of making a game is actually finding a good name, and that's kind of the name of the game. It's all about that. There's a lot of I'm sure a few minutes of footage in the final movie when we are tackling this name problem. And thinking of names is difficult, and obviously good names. Most of the names, obvious names, are really taken. Obviously, we first were thinking, as we had this game called Resogun, and then Eugene had this Robotron thing. I think the initial idea was have a name called Resotron, but we kind of dumped that a bit because Resogun was all related to PlayStation. We just wanted to break free of that. And Tron, we found out that Disney is very eager to sue anybody trying to trying to put Tron name in any game, any name of IP product. So it's not. It was also one thing. And we have registered this to quite a few different places. Obviously, European Union is quite easy. You know, it's covering many different different countries. But we have registered this to obviously North America. You know, US, Malaysia, Japan. There's Australia. You need to, some of the things you need to do separately. So it's a quite. It's not. It still takes money and effort, obviously, to go through with your trademark lawyer, and they are submitting all these applications, and then there might be some things that come back to you that, hey, this is there's a name resembling this, and these guys would like to have exclusions from different categories, for instance, so you can't register that to certain categories. But anyways, I think these categories I'm having there. I think these might be either from the European registration office categories or the US. I'm not sure, but those were the kind of the categories we put the game into. So entertainment software, electronic board games. There are lots of game-related stuff. Entertainment and amusement services. And the reason for these categories were that there's a possibility that Eugene is going to do, for instance, going to do a coin-op machine. At least we're thinking of doing a test machine at some point. So we have the name covered there as well. But it's an interesting process, and obviously you should be, if you're launching a big game, you should think about the name so you don't have any difficulties when you have launched that, and you are sure that you have secured the name. So we got a pretty cool name, Nex Machina, and it actually is Latin and for death machine. Nex is death. And then obviously there's quite a lot of more going on here. So nobody can do everything by themselves, and you need to have partners. So the first partner was that we kind of secured Sony partnership. So Nex Machina is timed exclusive for PlayStation 4. Let's see whether we can get the other versions for other consoles later on. Then we had an NVIDIA partnership earlier this year. So they have been promoting the game on the PC side. Let's see what more we can do. Merchandising. We have a fan gamer merchandising store. We have some other discussions going on which is related to this still that can be revealed later. But always it's very, very important to secure, partners. And this is kind of on the business side. So, as mentioned earlier, we started the marketing of this early marketing in February. Even like basically after Eugene had visited us the first time, we didn't, we started with this teaser picture before actually referring to anything. And I would say that it took quite a long time. We were thinking that we could have a kind of PR push already back in 2015, but eventually our partner Sony allowed us to come to their PlayStation experience, PSX, in December 2016, and that was the first time we actually showed the game. And they ran the trailer during the keynote of the event, and we just got the name out. And we had a really great fan response. We were part of the fan booth, part of the indie booth. So we had two kind of stations there that people could come and play our game. And obviously, I would say millions of PlayStation people have played our games. So it was a great response there. And I think there was like 400 people playing the game over the weekend. And there were lines there all the time. And we got Eugene in, and Eugene was there. And we got a really, really good response and seeing how the guys were reacting to this game. So that was a very good exercise. Quite a the key part obviously was that we got the big announcement out there that hey, we are doing this game, and we're doing, showing the first time the gameplay. So we've been, most of our games have been, we've been working with Sony for over 10 years now, doing quite a few games with those guys. So many have perceived us as the PlayStation exclusive developer. So that's why it was great to announce the PC version of the game, that we come back to our roots. When we started our first games were on PC. Started with '96. So it was great to kind of come back to our roots, if you like, and announce that we are having a PC version of this game available as well. What we did and what allowed, this beta, obviously you have a game on PC, it's easier to arrange all this sort of a beta testing sessions. So that was pretty helpful for us. So we gathered people to test our games. We started early beta tests in April. I would say a bit too late compared to the actual release. So it was just 2 months before the release. I would recommend that you could have those coming a bit earlier. So all these things, we started to build up some interest in there. We released a short Fair to Red of the documentary movie, and so on. So we started to build ourselves towards the release. And then obviously marketing efforts intensifying. This is the PR is one thing that we certainly needed help. We got a sandbox coming from the in the States, kind of taking care of some of the influencer marketing and some reviews. In Europe, we have a plan of attack. Actually, Audra is giving a talk here later today on indie marketing and PR. So if you're interested, you should check that out. And eventually, the release date was 20th of June, and that's actually, I should have had a slide on that as well. Let's see if I have it. No. So actually, I stopped here for a while because having a release date, especially when you have consoles, is a tricky thing. And we eventually, when we were kind of developing this, we eventually, we hope that we could have released that a bit earlier, like in May. But we made a decision that, okay, we need to push that back a bit further. And then there was kind of when it came to PlayStation marketing and how they can put the games out, they were kind of saying that, okay, if you don't get this game out around this 20th game, there's going to be a big game coming out straight after that. And then there's going to be a big PlayStation promotion that will take for weeks, and you will have every week kind of a highlighted games out there. So the next time you could release a game with some marketing support from the PlayStation Store would be in August. And then you start to be in mid-August, and then you know that there's other games coming out, and all the big games start to get out of the gates. So we were kind of in a situation that, okay, now we need to actually release that on the 20th of June. And we got that coordinated with Steam. Steam was, were really helpful, but it's always a difficult time to release the game. But this wasn't ideal. Before finding out, we were really thinking that, okay, just finish the game and then release it in August, but that wasn't really a possibility at that point. And which was there was a couple other things that weren't that great in that release date. First, just the previous week there was E3. All the journalists and media were kind of covering stuff what was happening there, and that's the kind of was sort of a bad thing that in a sense that people were sort of tired I suppose after E3. It's tiring events can be very tiresome at sometimes, but that was a bit of a bad thing. But luckily it didn't show in the reviews, so it seems that people still played the game, and we got the review copies out early enough, so people had time to release the game, so review the game and play the game. That was one thing, but we couldn't. It was the following week after E3, so that we couldn't just do anything about it. So we just had to get it out. And the second thing was that the Steam sales started on the 22nd, summer sale, the biggest sale. That probably wasn't the ideal time to launch a game, just because people are waiting for discounts. So that was kind of a bit of a worry that, oh shit, we need to release this just before the summer sales. But in the end, I think we were pleased with the response, and obviously PC, we haven't had a game on PC since 99. So the last PC game we properly got out was a game called Supreme Snowboarding in 99. So we didn't have much of expectations. This is a top-down arcade shooter. So this isn't a very big genre in the PC, so on the PC side. But eventually it turned out pretty well. And here's our kind of reviews. We got awesome reviews, and some said that this is the best twin stick shoot 'em up game ever made. So we had a lovely reviews. What do we have here? We got Guardian 5-star, Eurogamer Essential, GameSpot 90. What is that? Yeah, Trusted Reviews 90. This. Metacritic 88. If you have followed that, it's really high, and so we were really pleased that we made the game and had this kind of a response. It's the best reviewed game we've ever made. So I think the previous one is like 85. Resogun. There was some Resogun DLC that got 86, I suppose. And 85 was kind of a superstar as well. So the response was really good. Actually, I seem that I've hurried these slides quite early. I typically have videos, but thank you for listening.